Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Wednesday, July the 23rd. And welcome to our commentary. Well, I don't know if you had a chance to see it at lunchtime today. Director Tulsi Gabbard went to the press conference, the daily press conference, and outlined all kinds of, I guess, new information coming out. And I mean, it is really fascinating to me just how all of this happened. I remember 2017, 2018 because I've done some appearances on television and being invited to different interviews and so on. And much of the media was obsessed with this Russia story, and everything was about Russia. And here I was, answering these questions back then. I even got a phone call from a TV station and a radio station in Argentina. They wanted to know what the heck was going on up here with Russia and Trump. They were getting all these, reports over CNN International about Russia and Trump. And there we were. We spent all of 2017, much of 2018, obsessed with this, only to find out that there was nothing there, only to find out that it was the whole story came about because of a fake dossier, as they like to call it. And now we find out that from these documents, the allegation is that President Obama was in this thing, meaning they had cooked up this whole thing before he left office. And the objective was to connect Trump to Russia, even though they all knew that it wasn't true. So, I mean, this is really troubling. I think it's very troubling. And I mean, there's nothing you can do to these people now, but you can't touch President Obama or any of these people because I think the statute of limitations has already expired. Maybe you can get Comey and Brennan over perjury, but again, I don't know whether that has expired as well. I don't know the rules. But the bottom line is that a lot of harm was done to the country. That's where I'm coming from. A lot of harm was done to the country. The country was divided. You had people who were, I think, pushed to the sides by this whole story, by this whole thing that was being reported, only to find out that there was nothing to it, that the whole thing was, as President Trump said, a hoax. And then, of course, to top it off, we had the Hunter Biden laptop in October 2020, during that debate between President Trump and, at the time, Vice President Biden, who was running for the election. And they had this debate, and the Hunter laptop comes up. And of course, now you've got 50 so-called intelligence experts who came out and said it has all the earmarks of Russia disinformation, and the whole thing obviously doesn't get coverage. Then we find out later that no, that it was actually the laptop was real enough that it was used in the Hunter Biden trial to find him guilty. So, I think this is a very bad episode. And I do believe that, I really believe that President Obama, if he could, ought to do a press conference here and just answer some of these questions. What was going on? What was behind all of this? Because the absence or the lack of a response, I don't think looks good for anybody. So they need to come out and explain this. And I think a lot of people in the media who ran with these stories and ran all these articles based on sources familiar with the information and, people in the organization, or whatever language they use to explain anonymous sources, they need to explain this. They need to explain why this happened. Now, I will say, I think the media has suffered a great deal from this Russia thing because I think a lot of people just came to believe that the media was favoring one candidate or the other. And I think, for example, you look at the ratings of CNN, you look at many of the people who were spearheading all these anti-Trump movements, a lot of them are not even working anymore. I mean, they're out looking for work, or they're out of a job or whatever. But I do think there has to be an explanation to the American people of what happened. And the one person who can do it would be President Obama. Maybe he can answer some questions. as to what led him to say publicly that there was no influence from Russia. And then on the other hand, privately, they were pushing this lie about President Trump and Russia. So I think this has to be explained. I don't know how else you can deal with it. And apparently it's more information is going to come out. And Tulsi Gabbard was before the press today, and I think she did a pretty good job explaining what she has. And I again, as I said, more is supposed to come out, and we'll see what happens. But not a good day. This was not. I mean, this whole episode of the Russia story in 2017 and 2018, not a good day for anybody, and a very bad time for the country. I remember all of it, all of the stories about Russia and President Trump. Very bad for the country to say the least. Well, I've got a post over at the American Thinker today talking about Hunter Biden and this idiotic interview that he did. And I think, again, I asked the question one more time. What exactly was anybody thinking inviting Hunter Biden to a serious interview? I mean, why would anybody think that interviewing Hunter Biden was going to provide you any information that you don't already have? I don't know. I don't know what was in the minds of these people when they interviewed or invited Hunter Biden to do an interview. But it didn't work out well because Hunter made a fool out of himself. Really, that's what he did. He made a fool out of himself. And now, of course, we've got more Hunter Biden to deal with. Honestly, as I mentioned in my post, what Hunter Biden should do is get out of politics, get out of the public view, and spend some time with his father, who apparently is very sick, with cancer, they told us. He's sick. Spend some time with your father. That's what he ought to do. And get out of the public view. Just get out of the public view, because you're not helping anybody, not even helping your father's legacy by hanging around and saying a lot of things in public. I've got a post coming out Thursday morning about the possibility of Beto O'Rourke running for office again in Texas. Beto O'Rourke, of course, you remember, he was a member of Congress down in El Paso, very Democrat district, so it was very easy district for a Democrat to win, Beto O'Rourke. Then he ran for the U.S. Senate against Ted Cruz. He ran a great campaign. Beto O'Rourke ran a great campaign and came within a couple of points of beating Ted Cruz. I mean, it was a scary time. And I remember election night when it was scary. It was scary. That was a scary election, I mean, from our point of view, because obviously I was supporting Ted Cruz. But it ended up like 52-48 or 51-49, something like that, much closer, obviously, than anybody had anticipated. And many people were even thinking that 2018 was some kind of a turning point in making Texas blue. And, they had a good argument because the Democrats did well that year. And of course, the one thing the Democrats had that year that they don't have now and they haven't had since is straight party voting. So, the Beto O'Rourke campaign did a fantastic job organizing people out to vote. And it was like, hey, vote Democrat and, benefit everybody down the ticket, which is what happened. They ended up benefiting every other Democrat. And the Democrats did well. They picked up quite a few seats, especially in the Texas legislature. Now, a lot of that has been balanced out by 2020, 22, and 24, but it was a good performance by Beto O'Rourke in 2018. And I think it inspired Beto O'Rourke to even run for president, which he did. And then he ran for governor in 2022. And that's where he ran into problems. Because when he ran for governor in 2022, the Governor Abbott campaign, destroyed him. And they destroyed him by simply playing his videos, because he had made a bunch of videos about taking away your AR-15, a bunch of videos that made him look very liberal. Now, most of these videos were from when he ran for president in 2020. Remember, he ran for president in 2020, and he made a bunch of videos that came back to haunt him in 2022 when he ran in Texas. He did lose big against Governor Abbott. I think it was a 12 or 13-point defeat. Not a good performance by Beto. Most of us thought, well, he's gone, probably going to go away for a while, but he's back. Now, we're not sure if he's going to run again. That's not clear, but he'll probably, I mean, look, he wants to run for something, obviously. And I'm not saying he's running out of time. He's still fairly young. I think it's in his early 50s. But, this might be a time for him to run in 2026, running for the Senate one more time. I think it's going to be very, very tough because Texas has actually become more red since 2018. And especially if you go to South Texas, the Republicans are actually doing quite well in South Texas. So we'll see if he runs or not. He hasn't said anything officially, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on whether Beto O'Rourke is going to go at it for another try. Quick, on this day in history, we say happy birthday to the late Pee Wee Reese. Pee Wee Reese was that great baseball player with the old Brooklyn Dodgers. And he was born in 1919, 1918. He passed away 1991. Great player, and one of the great faces of those wonderful Brooklyn Dodgers teams of the 1950s. So Pee Wee Reese. And if you watch that movie, that Jackie Robinson movie, there's a scene there where Pee Wee and Jackie are shown together. And the Dodgers went to I think, Cincinnati, and there were some fans who were yelling at Jackie Robinson. And Pee Wee put his arm around Jackie and said, hey, let's play ball. Sort of, letting everybody know that, hey, he's on our team and we are with him on our team. So great story of Pee Wee Reese and Jackie Robinson. But he was a great player on top of all of that. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.